I'm talking to my old self when I say this, right? It's like you will
Yeah.
not believe how different you will feel.
I have yet another client turned hypnotist. He has an amazing story. Gary, go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah, so my name's Gary. I'm actually a direct response marketer. That's what I do as a profession. And yeah, I've
And we're working
slowly been
together.
getting into, yeah, we're working together. I'm slowly getting into being a full-time hypnotist / coach of sorts. And yeah, I like talking about this stuff because it's helped me so much. So I'm really looking forward to this. So.
And so Gary is going to share his story. I've known Gary for, I think we did our session maybe 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And
Yeah, something
we're
like that.
even, yeah, we're even working together now. And so, Gary, maybe tell us about your background, your struggles, how you became aware that, of your inner world and what needed changing. Let's start with that.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, how I got into all of this was um, I joined John MLD's group, and I met Ryan Fowler there, met Ryan
Shout out to
Christensen there.
John.
Shout out to John. John's really changed my life. And, like every course that John promotes, we had a bunch of different experts there. Ryan Fowler was one, Ryan Christensen was another, specifically on hypnosis. And at this time, I was doing visualization types of meditation, just basic, like sitting in silence kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had that context going into it.
Was that helping at all?
It helped me in the day I did it, right? But I would have to keep doing it. And so it got a little bit tiring. And so I didn't keep the habit as long as I probably should have. The other thing was I had already talked to and worked with a guy named Brent Charlton. And Brent really was my introduction to all this kind of subconscious kind of work in general. And so he was
very, very highly regarded and very expensive.
Very, probably one of the highest paid therapists in the nation right now. Yeah.
And so how did his maybe tell us a little bit about what you were struggling with, why you even went to him, anything you're willing to share. You don't have to share anything you don't want to, but what do you think it was about your upbringing that caused that?
Yeah, so initially I thought it was because I moved so much, right? And so for people who don't know, I have a background of being like an international kid. I was born in Hawaii, flew to Japan right away, lived in Singapore for a few years after that, Kuwait after that, and then I finally got to the U.S. when I was in 6th grade. And so fundamentally, like, I had a lot of identity confusion. My mother's, Hawaiian Japanese, my father's English. We had a Filipina maid in Kuwait and Singapore, which was very normal.
Just all over the place.
And so I was just fundamentally like all over the place, and I would really struggle, and I would ask my parents all the time, like, what am I? And so I would never get a good answer. And so I was really in like this, looking back now, I was really in a flight or fight response like most of the time. I just didn't know. Yeah, and I would have never admitted it too, by the way, because from my perspective, I had a very good upbringing. I had 2 parents. They loved me to death. We got to do all kinds of cool things. Like, by and large, it's the life most people would be envious of. And so I didn't really think I had anything to complain about, quite frankly.
So what was your attitude towards yourself? Are you like, I can't do anything right? Are you like, I'm a total loser, I'm messed up, or I'm
just classic self-hatred. So just just like, why can't I do anything right? Like, and it was one thing to like not like myself. It was another thing that everybody who I paid money to, like, for mentorship and stuff, they would all tell me, it's like, Gary, you got it. Like, you have the talent. I was not this good at your age, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I believe them. And so I was like, well, everyone's telling me I can do the thing. Why can't I do the thing? Right. Like, everyone who's older, wiser, more successful is telling me I got this. And why do I not got this is basically what I was running into.
Okay. And so you talked to John MLD, and then he said, do a session with me. And so we met, and then what happened?
Right. So when I met you, what was honestly, before we even jumped into the actual hypnosis part, we did like hours and hours of detective work, and like,
was probably like 4 hours with you, I think.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Because I mean, you had a complicated maze.
And then when we went and did the session, like, I had so much like emotional content, let's say, like, that was just built in that discovery phase, that when we actually were releasing it, I was telling Ryan, like, it felt like I had this lump in my forehead that he was just like ripping out of there. And so I just felt a little bit lighter, but I couldn't really tell that big of a difference. What really kind of like opened my eyes was that everybody who I was close to was telling me, hey, Gary, like, I don't know what you did, but your face has changed, you know?
Yeah, I remember you telling me, they're like, your face is different.
Your face is different. And I'm like, what does that mean? And so, but I heard it not just from one person. And I had, you know, my two brothers, my mother, my father all told me this. And so that was like a big, you know, cathartic kind of moment for me. And, you know, once I figured out you did like self hypnosis stuff as well, you know, I just caught the momentum and did like 20 to, I think, like maybe like 30 to 40 actually things on myself.
Thank you, Gary, for sharing with us your core transformation, because it really has been a core transformation, like your total energy, all different.
Dude, yeah, I wish
before and after. I've seen you before when you were struggling. Man. Big freaking difference, man.
It's honestly again, I'm talking to my old self when I say this, right? It's like, you will not believe how different you will feel. You just won't believe it. You don't even think it's possible.
Thank you, Gary, for being willing to share your story. And just remember, guys, that's our show for today. But remember, you have more power than you know.